Check 1, 2, 3. Check, check 1, 2, 3. Check.
We can hear you
We
clearly.
can hear you. No problem.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be starting pretty shortly with the next few more minutes. Thank you.
So check. Hello.
Yes, we can hear you clearly, Uncle.
Good. Thank you. Not sure if I can turn on my camera though.
You
Oh,
should be able
wait.
to.
There. Oh, you cannot start video. Okay.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, Randy. How do you
How
do?
are you? Good. How are you?
Excellent. Are you in good health?
I am just starting to get my voice back.
Hi, Randy.
Hi, everybody. I
We're
can't
going to be
see.
starting very shortly in a few more seconds.
Awesome. So what's new with everyone?
Only a few people can hear you. Only the panels can hear you.
Oh,
Everybody can hear you, but they can only reply to you in question answer period though.
okay.
Tonight is the night for the Valentine and another exciting day.
Yes. How are you doing now?
Doing great, actually. Except
Okay,
a little
good.
bit hurdles here, there, but other than that, life is good.
Okay, good.
When you go through some of these so-called, ups and downs, that happens. So
Mm-hmm.
that's
Mhm.
real life, correct?
As
But if
long
you
as
don't
you're,
know-
as long as you're back to good health.
Yeah, well, sometimes you have to look after it. It needs some repairs or attentions or TLC, whatever you're gonna call it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of stuff happening in the market as we slow, and we're getting all kind of mixed messages in the market. Today, before the meeting, I got a little notice on my email. Oh, the inflation is down. The food prices are up, gas prices are up, interest rates are up. But inflation is under control. It's now 6.4% in US. And, it's funny that affordability is affecting everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I do believe that there's going to be some more definitely interest hikes in US for sure. In Canada, I'm not too sure exactly how this thing gonna pan out, but let's keep our finger crossed.
Mm-hmm.
And also, people are getting used to the fact that interest rates have gone up, and they may or may not gonna come down. So we're gonna have David Grossman talk about it. And the people are kind of getting used to it. Hey, listen, you know what? Everything doesn't go up. Now it's stabilizing, or it still have some certain things which need to be sorted out. So we shall see. I'm gonna start in. Okay, whether we like it or not, I think we shall start. Yes. Okay. Good evening, everybody. Happy Valentine's Day. My name is Naftaj Chandok. I want to say thank you to everybody who is attending tonight. It might be, not that many people are attending tonight, but that's fine. We schedule all these dates ahead of time on certain calendar dates. It happens, so we deal with it. Life goes on regardless. That's how it works. So something about our real estate business is a great business to be in. With it, understand it. It's a beautiful way of involved in the business. Some of you may or may not be a member, but you should become a member, and there are a lot of benefits come with it. And you're able to pitch your deals, and that's something that sums up one little connection. That's all it takes. I do remember in 1996, we bought a 1,200 unit building, 1,200 unit building. And if I tell you that what we were going to pay for the per door price, you'll be shocked. I'm going to ask this question to David and Randy. What do you think the price would be per door in 1996 for apartment buildings in Toronto?
Oh, my goodness.
20,000.
Pretty close, Randy.
How big an apartment building?
1,200 units plus a lot of commercials.
1,200 units?
1,200 units, yes.
Oh, my goodness. I don't know. I'll say maybe a little more than 20 grand.
Yes. The funny thing, it is I'm watching this building. That building, when we were acquiring it, we are really, really pushing it for 30,000 per door.
Wow.
Now, guess what's the price now per door?
200 a door.
Almost 1.5 times now.
Wow.
Or 300,000 per door. The
Really?
point of the story is, when those who were aware and those who are putting it up, one day will buy real estate, may have realized it, hey, I should have bought it 10 years ago, 25 years ago. This is about 25-year cycle. In 25 years, if the property has multiplied 10 times, it's a pretty good deal,
Mm-hmm.
especially it's income producing property.
Yes.
I just looked through my papers and I said, oh my Lord. So some of the deals we were doing, and people were saying, oh, market is slow, the boom has busted, and prices are going down. And those who picked it up and those who held on to it, these are the people who held on to the property. They still are the owners. And it was one of the largest developer who sold these buildings, by the way. So definitely I will be happy to disclose to anybody who's interested to know, how it works.
Mhm.
Here's something else we can offer only for, you can pitch your deals at the mastermind network meeting. You have to be a member, and this thing has to be sent to us ahead of the time so we can integrate in our PowerPoint presentation. And this way it becomes a kind of record, what you said, what you have, and what your phone numbers are. And some people like to watch it more than one time. Some of the dates coming up, every second Tuesday is the meeting day. Regardless, we've been doing this very successfully since 2005, never missed a meeting, have no intention to miss any meeting. Doesn't matter how many people show up, whether it's 200 people or 10 people, it's the quality, always the quality. So those who are not members, you may not realize it, what kind of benefits you get. But again, there is always old saying, who do you know, what do you know? It makes a huge difference. And this is what it is. Some beautiful article was written in November 2009 about pre-Canada, that how important is that due diligence is. And I'm going to be sharing some information with you definitely in the next meeting about somebody who is unable to do proper due diligence, have bought many, many lemons. Not they are bankrupt, they can be times over bankrupt again and again, not realizing it. One missing element. Foreclosure and power sales, yes, they are on the rise. There people are defaulting, people are holding on to it for 8 months, 9 months, and so on. And I do believe there are some cracks in the market. There is a huge demand for a second mortgage, even for first mortgage from private lenders. We're going to have a lot of enlightening experience with David Grossman, and he's going to be talking about tonight what happened when your mortgage becomes due from 2% to now 6.5 or 5.49 or whatever. What are the recommendations? What you should be doing if you're facing a foreclosure or power sale? You have options, and talk to us. We might be able to assist you and help you. This was an article on March 15, 2022, about a year ago almost. And that was something where we were helping a family. Here is something, Canadian properties. Here we are talking two different things. Tonight, you're going to have two different aspects of conversation. One conversation is we have no supply and we are going through a crunch, a housing crunch, a real estate crunch. On the other hand, we're talking about recession, how things are bad. And what is the solution? Are we building more houses? Is there more supply coming up? Is there a population increasing? And this is something where you're going to find that homelessness is rising like crazy. Some bankruptcies have gone up quite a bit. And again, even the builder want to build it. It's just a red tape you have to go through 2, 3 years, 4 years before you can build something. So there is going to be some sort of a compromise, and there is a little something in the air. And this not most of Canadians want to hear, but it's a speculation building up. There could be a federal elections in October. And that may be good or not good. We do not know yet. But again, this is something else. And the government of Canada is also anticipating, this is a great news for investors, to offer some sort of incentives if you are going to build some affordable rental units. Whether it's you turning your basement into an in-law suite, or whether you're adding up a coach house, laneway house, or something, there have to be something to give in to developers and real estate investors like you, some freebies to kind of entice you. Hey, come on, get some few more rental buildings, or create something which is more or less an affordable factor though. Here is the totally different aspect of recession. We are adding up 150,000 jobs. Unemployment is going down. As a matter of fact, they were not expecting more than 5,000 jobs. And here we go. And these jobs are coming back in wholesaling and retail trading and so on. And this is kind of good news. And always talking about recession. Yes, there are a few things which are affecting our economy, especially the war in Ukraine, uncertainty, inflation. And on the other hand, the lack of supply and job growth, and we can't find people to work for you. Here is something about bankruptcies. Now, this is a kind of controversial thing. On one way, we are creating a lot of jobs. The economy is kind of going up. Gas prices are going up, food prices are going up, rent is going up, interest rates are going up. And other than that, they're saying inflation is going down. And how does it affect an average Canadian? The bankruptcies are up by 37.2% compared to 2021. So these are the facts given by the Office of the Bankruptcy, just to share with you. Again, you're going to hear tonight in the presentation two different aspects of it. Hey, what is the one we should be work with? Here is competitive tax impair innovation compared to US and other countries. How is Canada doing compared to other countries? Let's talk about US. Innovative, we are gone down. Personal income tax rank is gone down. Corporate tax rank has gone down. And you look at US, it has changed from 15th to 9th, 12th to 4th, and 6th to 2nd. So there is something definitely need to get aligned up. And this is something, a report prepared by Fraser, and I just thought I should share with you. Here is another thing which kind of bothers a lot of people. When you work for the province of Ontario or any government, what happened? You retire earlier, you miss more working days, your salary is much higher than the private sector, and you know what? You have a lot less job loss, and you have to have a huge pension. It's a guaranteed pension, though. These things need to be kind of taken care, brought to an attention to an average Canadian. Hey, listen, no, this should be at par, and that shouldn't be the case. Again, some wastage of taxpayers' money, though. This is in Quebec. By the way, in Quebec, they enjoy so many benefits compared to rest of Canadians. As a matter of fact, I just came to know a few things, and it was kind of upsetting. Here is something I'd like to share quickly with you. It's a little bit off the topic, but I'd like to share with you. If you want to go to the rest of the Canada except Quebec, you want to do MBA, you want to go to medical school, you want to go to anything, you have to write the exams. And you have to pass the exam. You have to compete with other Canadians. And to my understanding, I could be 100% wrong, but I heard from somebody, I did not verify information. If you are doing everything in French, you don't have to write any of the exams. That I've been told. If anybody want to help me confirm it, that'll be good. But I just thought I should bring a point to you. So it's kind of a bit of unfair situation for Canadians who do not live in Quebec, who do not speak French, and Quebecers might have upper hand on it. But again, this is foreclosures in US. Canada always follow what goes in US. Those who remember the disaster we have in 2006, it went up all the way to the peak to 2010, and then it started declining. Now it is bouncing back. And again, as I said earlier, interest rates may gonna go higher in US, definitely by 1/4%, as I heard in the news today. But again, we will see as the facts come on the surface. Here is the burden on Canadians. What is exactly the burden we have? Compared to BC, Alberta, Saskatchewan, we in Ontario bear the most burden. 86%, Quebec also 88%, New Brunswick and Nova Scotia has 93%. I just thought I should share with you, this is the debt we owe. This will be passed on to our kids. Some interesting stuff, those who have not been familiar with, make sure you get on the report from the realtors, especially Randy Goodman. Speak to her, tell her to get you in the newsletter, and she will send you all the facts you need to know. And that can be very helpful as well for you to see how the market is going, where you should be investing. Is there a certain property you need to exit from there and move into the new properties, or what is the new demand is all about? This is about Toronto Real Estate Board, what is happening since 1976, how the prices have gone realistically reasonably high, except there was a 89, there was a boom and got busted. But again, if you waited for long enough, though, it did came back, but took a little longer time. I do believe this slowdown and this so-called market adjustment is not going to stay forever. It might be short-lived because of the economy, because of everything is going on. Apart from inflation and high interest rate, I do believe there's going to be comeback fairly soon, though. This is Toronto, by the way. How many people we have added up in Toronto? This is going to go dramatically high because they're expecting 1.5 more million people to come in. Now, the new immigrants or new Canadians coming are, they're coming with a very high skill. Canada have set up a new kind of guidelines for immigrants. Apart from refugees, that's totally different ballgame, but that's on compassionate ground. But other immigrants coming in, they're coming with a very high income skill. And they are able to afford it. Instead of waiting for 5-10 years, they are able to afford to buy a house second or third year. And we have seen it in the last 3 years that the new Canadians or new immigrants coming to this country is going to put a lot more pressure on the supply. And it is going to reflect in the prices of the houses. It doesn't matter where you are in Canada, by the way. So this is in GTA, how the immigrants have came in from since 2002. And because of the COVID, there was a slowdown, but now we have to make it up. And you see 2023 to 2025, there'll be a huge, big chunk of people coming in. When people come in to stay in Toronto, they are coming in to stay for a lot longer period of time until they feel comfortable. They want to raise family. They may gonna look into other provinces as well, though. This is those Canadians who feel that Toronto is way too expensive have left the city. That happens. Immigration versus emigration. So people move around for better life, less traffic, whatever it is. But this is how it works. There are a lot of things going on in the market. Before you invest any of your capital with anybody with a limited partnership or any kind of stuff, please check before you invest.ca. This is a website is by Ontario Security Commission. And if you are not sure, please don't invest. Check with your lawyer, check with your CPA, and make sure you are making a decision based upon professional opinions than anybody who's just trying to tell you something, though. We're going to be talking about stink bits. Now we're going to skip this tonight. This is was a headline. Now this is kind of mixed bag headline. This came on January 13th. Help must sell in 30 days. Mortgage broker report obstacle forced sales of GTA homes. Now we're going to be a little bit talking about tonight. What is a forced sale? Why people are forced to sell? Because right now, as a lot of mortgages are becoming due or for renewal, people are thinking, okay, you know what? Maybe it's time for me to move on. I cannot afford to have my payments go 1.5 times or double, triple the time because the income is limited, and so are the stuff. So this is we're gonna be talking for months to come. Yes, there are a lot of forced sales comes on the table every day, but a lot of times we find there's not enough equity, or they may not be in the right fit for investment. So we're passing around those deals though. Pre-construction. This is we are seeing it already. As we speak. There's a big thing going on with Mattamy Homes in Oakville. People have bought the houses at the peak. Mattamy is selling them at lot less prices. The same model is creating a little bit headlines in the newspaper, as well as people are saying, "Oh my God, how can we get out of the contract?" Every real estate lawyer in Ontario and BC is being forced to ask a question: how can I get out of this contract? And this is becoming common. We get these calls come in, And so certain times, you wish you can help them out, but there's so much you can do. A lot of pre-construction buyers are getting cold feet in Canada because the values are down and the mortgage rates are up. So about 32,000 condos coming up in Toronto, 19,000 will be ready the first 6 months. So be aware of it. If you get your share of these condos, people who bought 3-4 years ago want to get rid of it, and they just want to walk away, or they don't want anything, or they want half the deposit given back to you, hey, that could be a good deal. We'll skip this one. Permanent resident, about 437,000 being added in 2022. That's a pretty good news. And more or less, they do not mention here about international students and foreign workers. We got about 500, approximately 600,000 international students in Canada. We also have a lot of foreign workers. They come accordingly. They come based upon small sponsorship. They come for 1 or 2 year term. So there's a huge amount of people coming into Canada, and based upon only new immigrants, you will find in 2023, this number will surpass definitely 500,000 people. And 24, 25, in my opinion, next 3 years, there will be at least 500,000 people coming in, maybe 100, 150, 200,000 international students, and maybe another 50,000 or more as foreign workers. So there's going to be a lot of pressure. If you happen to have a rental property anywhere in Canada, be aware, be smart about it. If you have to move around your tenants to get better rent, it's your call. But again, your cost might be going up, so you might have to figure it out how you can have a brand new strategy to cultivate and have the benefit for next 3 years for the new flood of new Canadians coming in this country. So this is something about prices about it. I do believe that in certain pockets in Toronto, there are multiple offers. There are other pockets where there is no offer. As a matter of fact, today, just somebody called me in from Brampton. There are less than 500 MLS listings on Brampton alone, a lot less than during the boom time. So people are not really getting rid of the property. There are some people they have to, but right now the supply on MLS a lot less. But I'm going to show you a slide and which shows, the listings are up by 88%. Again, these are all the news things. Randy Goodman might be able to give us a lot more insight about it though. So if you are not getting a newsletter, please get a newsletter, flippingforprofit.ca/for newsletter. This will be helpful for you. Now we're talking about prime rate. In 1981, when I got into business, it was 22.75%. I have higher interest we ever had. And now let's look into it. Last time our interest rate has been risen about 8 times now. Now the prime rate is 6.7%. Last increment we have on January 25th by 0.25%. Now, this is one of the best method every bank and every lender, every mortgage will recommend to you. If you can change your amortization to 40 years to cut down or make the house more affordable, I would definitely recommend 40-year amortization for people who are investors, especially in the multi-units. Sometimes you don't care about paying off the mortgage. You bank on building equity, the cash flow, and the timing. Again, whatever your strategy is, stick with it. And if you are really facing it, 40-year amortization might be a savior for you. So if they offer it, excellent. These are the interest rate hikes, by the way. And I'm going to bring our specialist, David Grossman. And this is the question he's going to be asking or answering. My mortgage is coming up for renewal and I can't afford a higher rate. What are my options? So here we're going to introduce David. Are you there, my friend?
Yes, I am. Hi, Navtash.
It's all yours, my friend.
Okay, thanks so much for having me. It's nice to be back here again in February as we move along. And I don't know that I don't know that inflation is necessarily coming down. I'd say the results are mixed. There's different indicators. We've got some results that came out of the US today, and they're mixed, and people were hoping for better. We also know that jobs were up in Canada in January, which is not a favorable thing. You'd think it'd be a good thing if there was jobs, but in this unique time, we're looking for things to cool off, of course, so that rates can start coming down. But we're not there yet. That's the bottom line. And as it stands right now, there is continued a little bit of upward pressure on, let's say, 5-year yields. So while 5-year mortgage rates, fixed rates, had started to ease down a little bit in the last couple months, there's a teeny bit of upward pressure right now. So we might see fixed rates go up a little bit, longer term for a little bit. But the ride to lower mortgage rates isn't always going to be a straight line down. There's going to be ups and downs. So the thinking is that we're where we need to be in terms of prime rate. I think you alluded to it. You may have alluded to the fact that there could even be another prime rate increase, possibly in the fall. Hopefully not. But they definitely, we need to see, inflation come down. The apparently, typically when there is a recession, it takes approximately 5 months before, when a recession kicks in, after the peak. And the mortgage rate, which is hopefully at the peak now, it had just gone up at the end of January. So it takes some time before things cool down. And while we were hoping to see mortgage rates coming down, possibly later this year, they still might, but it's just taking a little bit longer. So the question, of course, is what do you do? Your mortgage rate is coming up for a renewal. Maybe you had a rate, a very low rate. Now your mortgage is coming up for renewal, and the rates are considerably higher. So what can you do? Well, the first thing that I would do is I would go talk to your bank, whoever's got the mortgage, and I would say, look, we're going to have problem making ends meet. What can you do for us? Can you delay the renewal? Give us an extra 3 months at the old rate. Push out the renewal. Can you give us a longer amortization, as you were noting a little bit earlier? Can you give us a 40-year amortization? What can you do? The other thing you can consider as well, besides locking in with a 5-year fixed rate. I mean, right now, 5-year fixed rates are the lowest rates there. The only downside of going with a 5-year fixed rate is that fixed rates, especially longer term ones, can be more expensive to get out of. So if you do decide to lock in, insured mortgages are around 4.5. Uninsured mortgages are in the high 4s at best right now. So, if we're talking about a renewal or a refinance, of course, it cannot be insured. So you're looking at around 5% or thereabouts, which is lower than a variable rate. Typically, but if you do decide to lock in, just keep in mind that if you decide in 3 months from now that you want to sell your house, that you could be up for a big penalty, because the penalty to get out of a long-term fixed rate mortgage is normally much higher than getting out of a variable rate. The other thing you can consider is going into a line of credit. Because line of credit, to your point about the 40-year amortization, you're not going to pay off any principal at all if you're just paying the interest. But if you're just looking for now to improve cash flow, then that might help. And if you're in a line of credit or some kind of variable rate product, don't forget you can lock in later. So hopefully in a year or more, when rates do start to really come down, you could take advantage then if you wanted to. So that's another option. Look at your mortgage contract. Some contracts have like a skip a payment. You might be able to skip a payment or more. You could also consider pulling out equity to deal with it. Now, you got to be very careful if you're going to do something. If you have a lot of equity, but you just cannot manage the monthly payments, it is better to take out equity than it is to miss payments. And there's nothing to be ashamed of if you decide to sell. There's nothing to be ashamed of if you decide to sell, because you don't want to become a statistic. You don't want to become the homeowner who they're foreclosing on or taking power of sale. You need to be more proactive than that. Because as soon as you start missing payments, it's going to ruin your credit. And also, the banks, nobody's going to want to work with you. No lender's going to want to work with you, except the private lender, if they see you're missing payments. And sometimes that shows up on the credit report. Institutional lenders are very sensitive to that kind of thing. They will not want to renew your mortgage if you're missing payments. So those are some of the options. Do you have any questions? Navtash or anybody?
If you got any question, please put only in the question answer period only, please, Q&A. And they will be happy to answer the otherwise, if you got a question, you can call him directly if you like at 416-876-2031, or you can send him an email, david@rockyourmortgage.ca. I got one question here, David, for you. What's a reverse mortgage?
Okay, so a reverse mortgage is a mortgage. It's intended for seniors. You have to be at least 55 years of age to qualify. If there's a husband and wife, they'll look at the age of the younger person. And the older you are, the more money they're going to lend you. So there's two factors in determining how much a bank or a reverse mortgage lender is going to give you. Number one is the value of the property, and number two is your age. So if you qualify for a reverse mortgage, and if you don't have the cash flow or the income, let's say, because it's intended for retirees or seniors who don't have the income, but maybe they have the equity, and it is a really great way to improve cash flow because you don't have to make mortgage payments. All you have to do is make sure that the property taxes get paid and that you keep the insurance, house insurance, on the property, but you don't have to make mortgage payments. So if you're living in the house, you want to stay in the house, you have equity, but you don't have cash flow, it's a great solution. Some people think, oh no, the bank's going to take my house. I'm going to lose the house. That's not true. As long as you're living in the house and keeping the property taxes and the insurance up to date, that house is yours. They cannot do anything about it. So you can live to any age. As long as you're 55, you can get a reverse mortgage. You're not going to get an awful lot of money if you're 55 years old or close to it. As you get older, they would advance more money. So for the right mortgage applicant, it's a really great product.
Okay, let's see. There's another question we have for you. Okay, someone, can you read the question?
Yeah, I was seeing a program in USA called HELOC, paying off mortgage in 3 years, putting their pay in HELOC. Okay, so yeah, we do have products like that here in Canada. And my personal feeling on these products is they're a little bit more hyped up than what they actually deliver. But the idea is that you can have like an all-in-one account. so that, when you get paid and the money comes into your account, your bank account, instead of the money sitting there in your bank account, it will immediately go towards reducing your the amount of mortgage that you have. So everything is together: credit cards, mortgage, and your pay. And so there are benefits to that. And a line of credit, or HELOC, home equity line of credit, whatever you want to call it, definitely has its advantages, its flexibility if you need to draw against it, because let's say you want to make home improvements or you want to make an investment. If you have a line of credit available to you, you can write a check immediately without needing to go and get pre-qualified for anything. So it gives you power as long as you're disciplined enough that you don't go and borrow money that you cannot afford to repay. I know, for example, the Manulife One is a product that offers exactly that. Your paycheck comes in, it automatic, and they actually have a calculator on their website. So if you input, your paycheck and all these different factors, it's going to give you some results to indicate how much faster you're going to pay off the mortgage. Again, my personal opinion is I think it's pretty aggressive what they're saying, and I don't know what the math is behind it all. I do sometimes recommend Manulife's product to people, but there are other, frankly, line of credit products that I like better. But theirs is definitely worth considering. But whatever your needs are, give me a shout and I'll help you find the best mortgage. Okay, Ramneet is saying, what do you think about interest rate cycles? Do you think interest rates are already peaked, or is there still room for more hikes? Well, Ramneet, we certainly think and hope that it's peaked. It is possible, as I alluded to earlier, it is possible that there would be another increase. We really need to see the economy responding to all of the increases that we've had. They say that it's the fastest series of increases that we have ever seen, which has left a lot of people reeling. But they must get a hold of inflation, and hopefully in the next few months we're going to see inflation coming down even further, and that we would hopefully not see any more increases. But if I had a crystal ball, I would give you a better answer than that. But that's about the best I can do.
Thank you, David. Appreciate it, my friend.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Hang on for a few more minutes, David, if you can, and we're gonna move on to the next thing.
Okay.
So, taxes. Most of us don't like it, but we have to end up paying for it, and they keep introducing more and more taxes. And I'm sure I've spoken to this before, and some of the stuff I like to share with you about how much average Canadian pay in taxes. If you want to take a quick picture of this, you're welcome to do so. And there are a couple of things we need to talk about. And how Canadians pay taxes per person when it comes to government costs, whether it is a federal or it is a provincial. And this is the federal and provincial. If you want to take a quick picture of it, you may need to kind of know, because this might be one of the most biggest expense you might have in your life. Not realizing it, hey, that's quite a bit. And there are better ways of taking care of it. So keeping this in mind, we always bring the experts. And now we talk about GST or HST on the flips. By the way, this we have discussed it. This is where some of you might want to look at it. How are you separating the dog from the sleeping giants? This is a different strategy. You need to sit down with our one of the CPA or whoever you feel is comfortable. And tonight, we're going to be discussing the new tax filing date. April 30th. This is about underused housing tax rules. And now this is something new for starting this year. And this thing have to be filed before April 30th. For each qualifying residential property that own on December, if you own this, any rental property, and for us to enlighten us, I'm going to introduce you our special friend and one of the innovative investor himself with tons and tons of experience. And he's the only one, and one and only one in Canadian who have the designation 5 different investment marketplaces, from the stock market to private equity mortgages to insurance. He's also a CPA. And let me introduce you, Jerry Hogan. Jerry, are you there, my friend?
I am, Nav. How are you?
Okay. Excellent. And now it's all yours about.
Yeah, I can't seem to get my video. I think you have me unmuted or something with video. Does that make sense or not?
Maybe, I'm not too sure. This is a new setup we are doing. We want
Okay. Anyway, nobody wants to see my face anyway. But anyway, thank you, Nav, once again. So let me start by wishing everybody a happy Valentine's Day. So
Thank you.
wonderful day today. So yeah, Nav, good setup. I mean, my God, these taxes, they just keep coming and coming and coming. And very, very interesting illustration that you just gave about the interest. I mean, that's just incredible. $68 billion in interest we pay. That is just mind-boggling. And it's only gonna get worse. But anyway, you wanted me to touch on these new rules. Once again, there's more rules. Let's start with the let's start with that one right there. Let's start. Oh, okay, we'll do the unused housing tax. So this was started. This really came about, as most people probably know, when foreigners were buying these houses, and they just literally, nobody was in them. They were just buying them. They were appreciating like crazy. They'd sell them and they'd take their money out of the country. So certainly the rule was put in place to stop that. And as most rules that CRA creates, they just make it way more. The reach is so far now, the complications once you get into beyond the basic conditions become a little complex. But here's the simple terms, and Nav touched on certainly the filing. Okay, there's the filing, there's the reporting of these things, and then there's the payment of tax. April 30th, okay, is a very important day, not only for most of you as a personal tax filing deadline, but now we have to file this underused housing tax form. And if we don't file it, penalties for a person is up to $5,000. For a corporation, it's up to $10,000. Further tax of 5% of the tax that you would otherwise pay, plus 3% a month. It's ludicrous. So beware. Now, who has to file these things? Most of us will be exempt. Okay, again, the premise of this legislation is really to catch all the foreigners that are owning property in Canada. So most of us are excluded. When I say us, people that are Canadian citizens or permanent residents. If you're a permanent resident and not yet have your Canadian citizenship, you fall into this exclusion group. So the thing we really look at when we look at this type of housing tax, we look at the type of house it is. We look at the availability of that house. We look at the occupant and the location. Because the first thing that came to mind when I was reading all this stuff was, well, what about my cottage that I really don't use as much as I should? That's underutilized. So they've caught that as an exemption. So let me just start with the people that are excluded. Again, if you're a Canadian citizen, you're excluded. If you're permanent resident, you're excluded. Private corporations are not excluded. Partnerships are not excluded. So if you own a property within a partnership, so if you're a joint owner on a property, beware. If you're a trustee of a trust, beware. You got to file this stuff. Again, if you own your real estate in a corp, you're not exempt of this. So you're exempt if you're just a person owning a house that you live in. If you're permanent resident. Once again, you're exempt. So we have to file this form by the end of April. If it's determined that it's used tax, then we pay 1% of the value. So if you have a $1 million house, 1%, you get $10,000 fee to pay. It's crazy. I understand why they're doing it, to catch the people that literally just buy a house and do nothing to it. But it's certainly it's reached far enough that it's catching a lot of people that with the proper intentions of housing, but they're just getting caught. There are exemptions. So if you're working on a house, so basically in simple terms, if your house is vacant for more than 6 months, we just think that if your house is vacant for more than 6 months, you probably have a problem. Okay, now we got to dig deeper. So do we have a problem? But it's our cottage, so we have an exemption. So the cottage, well, not an exemption. You have to prove that you use your cottage or secondary property 28 days of the year. So if you can do that, then we don't have to file anything for the cottage. If we're working on a house, we're knocking it down, we're fixing and flipping it, there's exemptions there. But again, most of it's pretty obvious as far as these houses that aren't being rented. If you're trying to rent the house, that's another problem. What if you can't rent? You got a big house, you need $8,000 a month to rent it out, and you can't rent it out. You're going to have to pay a underused housing tax on that. So anyway, it's catching a lot of people that it probably wasn't ever really designed to catch. But again, just be wary. I mean, if anything, if you're in doubt, file the form. That way, if they ever say you don't file the form, we as accountants hate these situations where they basically say you have to file a form. Here's a whole bunch of complicated situations to determine if you should or should not file the form. And if you don't file the form, we're going to penalize you. So once again, we lots of questions get directed at us as accountants. Most of them are pretty simple answers. Most situations are pretty easy to determine whether we have to file this form or not. But there's a lot that aren't. Again, partnerships, that's catching a lot of people. Lots of joint ventures, we do a lot in the real estate world. We're all joint venture partners. So we're going to get caught. We have to be careful. Okay, so just understand that, look into it, and just make sure that, again, if we think we have to file, certainly reach out. We can look at each individual situation to see if you have to file. But if in doubt, you're certainly not going to be wrong to file that return anyway. And it's not a tax; it's not on your tax return. It's a special form, the UHT form. So again, just be aware of that. I also wanted to touch on tax loss harvesting, which again is it's always been around. It basically, it's more prominent or evident now that the real estate market has been hit a bit. So basically, what it is if you have a loss, and we see this a lot, and we do this a lot in the world of stocks when we dealing with stock traders. And especially when we get towards the end of the year, this is something that we really do a lot of in December. When we look at clients' portfolios, if they've got a capital gain, they've sold something at a gain, then we look at things in their portfolios that maybe we can sell to create a loss. Okay. If we sell a stock at a loss or even a house at a loss, it's a capital loss. Okay, a capital loss can only be applied against capital gains. A capital loss cannot be applied against normal business income. So we have to make sure the characteristic of the income matches what we're trying to do. We have to be aware of what we call a 30-day superficial loss rule. What is that? And it happens more in the stock world, where it's December. I'm looking at your portfolio. You've got a bunch of capital gains. We got a capital gains problem. and we've got 2 or 3 stocks in your portfolio that haven't done so well and are actually losing money. So I might say, geez, if we sell those, that loss will offset the gain that we have in these. So that's a tax planning strategy that we do a lot of. The 30-day superficial rule says if you sell a stock to create a capital loss, if you repurchase that stock within 30 days, the CRA doesn't allow the capital loss. So they're basically saying you can't just sell a share, get the loss, and buy it back the next day because you like the share. Even though the share might have gone down in value, you might say, well, I believe in that share. I think it's still going to go up in value. So before this 30-day superficial loss, we would get the client to sell the share, and if they really liked it, buy it back again. So we created the loss. Then CRA came, saw what we were doing, and we as accountants, and they said, oh, if you do that within 30 days, if you buy it back within 30 days, we're not going to allow that loss. So beware of that. And again, it's gotten a little tricky again in the last few years when they brought out these new rules about flipping houses. If you sell a house within 12 months, if you don't meet the qualifying conditions, that becomes normal business income. Okay, so now if we're trying to do this tax loss thing, we can't claim a capital loss against normal income. So once again, it's just something that we look at people's portfolios. As Nav says, it's the dogs, we look at too. Maybe the thing didn't work out quite as well. We're also seeing it now in the real estate world where people might have, might be having a bad experience in real estate. We're seeing some of these pre-construction buyers having some issues here. Do we sell? Do we sell at a loss? Do we assign at a loss? Does that become a capital loss or a normal business loss? And those are things that we need to really look at each circumstance to determine whether it is a capital loss or whether it is a normal loss that we can apply against normal business income. So overall, tax loss harvesting really means looking at your assets, thinking about possibly selling an asset to create a loss in order to offset a gain that you might already have, and we know that we'll need to account for on this year's tax return. So that's just kind of an overview of all that stuff. That's probably it, unless there's any questions. If there's questions, I'm glad to ask.
3 questions, Jerry. If you can look at the question answer period, there are 3 questions.
Yeah. So I think this move, so I'll just read them. I think this move is made to forcibly crash the housing prices. They're afraid housing prices will start increase again in future. They will. Yeah, no, listen, sure it is. They're using any tools they can to slow down the housing market. I mean, a vacant house really didn't do too well. I shouldn't say didn't do anything for the housing market. It allowed people to come in and buy houses and fuel the market and never rent them out. So it certainly did do something for the market, but I think they're more looking to create spaces for rental. We have an affordable housing crisis now. Most of these houses that the foreigners owned that they didn't do anything with, they were normally pretty expensive houses. So I don't know how that really impacts the affordable housing, other than just throwing a blanket over it and go, okay, you know what, if you're not going to rent out your house, we're going to tax you. And that's really what this is all about. If you're not going to rent out your house, we're going to tax you. So it kind of makes sense in principle. We in the tax world think they really threw the blanket out a bit too far to try to catch so many people, and the penalties are insane. I mean, anyway, I don't even want to get into the penalty part of it, but it's a lot. Next question: the underutilized house tax is different from vacant house, or the same thing? It's the same thing. So they just called it 2 different things. But the capital loss can be carried forward to some more years. It can be offset to future capital gains. Yes, if you have a capital loss, again, you cannot offset a capital loss against normal business income. So if you have a capital loss, we can go back 3 years. We can reassess a tax return 3 years back if it's to our advantage. And we carry that capital loss forward indefinitely. Okay, so if you have a capital loss, if you cannot use it this year, then we carry it forward forever. And it continues in your CRA tax database as a capital loss. Upon your final return, when you leave this earth, we do a final tax return, that capital loss is now converted to what we call a non-capital loss. So if you still have capital losses, by the time you leave this world, we get to use them as normal losses against other income. How does CRA know whether the house is left vacant? Well, it's a declaration, number one. Number two, they use 6 months. So if you've had tenants in there for more than 6 months, you're okay. If it's been vacant for more than 6 months, then you're gonna have a problem. Does that mean the house tax does not apply to Canadian citizens and residents? Yeah, again, there's exclusions, there's exclusionary provisions in the tax legislation, there's exemptions in the tax legislation. Just because you are a Canadian citizen does not exempt you from not paying this tax. If you are a Canadian citizen, bought a house, left it vacant, just like the foreigners would do, you're going to get caught. So not only do we look at this, whether you're a Canadian citizen or a permanent resident, we look what you have done with the house. Okay, so you're not just exempt because you are a Canadian citizen. So again, most cases are reasonably black and white. You get caught a bit on the cottage, you get caught a bit if you just can't find a tenant. I mean, you might be in an area where it's harder to find a tenant. So these things, and once again, the legislation is very new. It started January 1, 2022 with a lot of new legislation. This is the wording of it. We really haven't seen how they are assessing this. Certainly hopeful that they're not using this just to generate more revenue to deal with the debt that we have, but we really don't know how they're assessing this yet. And we hope that they give people a little bit of leeway when it comes to this. So time will tell. Anyway, no more questions. Thank you.
No,
Nav,
one more
again.
question, Jerry.
Yeah.
That's a good one. And this is, if there is a lawyer available tonight on the chat or in the meeting tonight, if you like, you can answer this question for you. I got something on the table today. A lady called me in and her husband died 3 years ago.
Yeah.
The husband had a super lien, is the lien from CRA.
Yeah.
And the house, the gentleman have died 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And he's still in the title, so is the wife.
Yeah.
So now wife is the sole survivor.
Yep.
And because it's super lien, that has to be paid out. Is that correct?
Sorry. What's that question?
The question is, the gentleman have died 3 years ago.
Yep.
When he died, he had a lien from CRA.
Yep.
Which was never paid out.
Yep.
And is registered against the property.
Yep.
And now, since she is the sole survivor, and the property does not become her 100% her property, she doesn't have to go to probate.
Well, okay, let's there's a whole bunch of stuff happening here. One, if any jointly owned asset does not go through the will, does not go for probate. Only assets that go through your will are subject to probate. So anything that is jointly owned does not go through your estate, is not governed by your will, is not subject to probate. So somebody dies, the other person gets the house. No probate, we still have to account for that asset on the final tax return. So we'd have to do an accounting. 3 years ago, there should have been an accounting based on the person who passed on their final tax return. Now CRA has a lien, and I'm a little surprised that title would be able, that title had actually changed without somebody poking the bear at CRA because
No, the title is still under the husband's name as well as the wife's name.
okay, so they haven't done anything with the
Not yet.
the ownership, right? Okay, and that's not uncommon. I've seen that many times. Somebody dies, nothing gets done. The person is still on title. So she can't sell it without dealing with the fact that her deceased husband is still on title. So when the time comes to sell it, they have to deal with that, and they'll have to. The lawyers will have to do a. The executor, if they're still around, they'll have to deal with
I
it.
know it's hard to see. Yeah.
The lien does not go away. Okay, CRA is owned money. They're not going away. A death doesn't eliminate the lien. It will stay there. They've attached to that house. That house is not going to be able to change ownership or get re-registered in any way without the people dealing with the lien.
All right. Jerry, thank you very much. Once again, Jerry is with Canadian Investment Services.ca. He's the most helpful person, a fellow investor and CPA. And to me, this is the best person you can come across who can advise you from accounting point of view, as well as investor. Thanks, Jerry. So
You're
we're
very
going to
welcome.
move on
Thank
to the
you.
next thing, moving forward with our friend Rory Sheehan. He was unable to make it tonight. But so this is something we discussed earlier. We're going to talk a little bit more about it. What is happening with a rising interest rate? Sales are coming down, but and then the pre-construction market, what is exactly happening with it? Trouble with refinancing or financing those closings. The appraisals are coming a lot lower than what people have paid for it, and interest rates are much, much higher. So there are some superficial, there are some losses, or there are going to be some lawsuits. These type of deals will come on the surface to investors like us, and most of us are able to deal with these type of deals and able to make reasonable profit instantly. And that could involve something along the line of a JV, joint ventures. And one of the things we start doing very aggressively is called fractional ownership. And there are some other techniques we have, which we are teaching during the apprenticeship. By the way, those who are attending apprenticeship, those who want to attend it, apprenticeship is open. You can join anytime, and that's the beauty of it. Toronto homes prices, as you see the chart, which Randy Goodman is going to enlighten us what is happening with Toronto real estate market. And let me introduce you my real sister, or half the sister, or full sister, Randy Goodman. She is the international best-selling author. She's an international speaker 10 times, not once, 10 times #1 international speaker. Randy, it's all yours, my friend.
Thank you, my brother. And I apologize to everybody. I am just starting to get my voice back. So this is my sexy voice, as I tell everybody. So
All right.
Okay, so let's go to, can I share my screen?
I'm not too sure if you're able to or not, because this is a different system, but you can try right now, definitely, yes.
Yeah, there's no option. Okay, so I'll just talk. So you had mentioned new listings. So year over year, we're only down 3.7% on new listings, but January, February typically really slow months. Although I've been seeing quite a few listings come in, they're typically the slower months of the year. Sorry, new listings this month, like January compared to January 2023 compared to January 2022, we're down 30%. Sales to new listings ratio, and average selling price from January this year to January last year has gone down 16.4%. It's only down 3% from December, from January to December. What we've been seeing over the last 4 or 5 months is a leveling off of activity and price point for homes generally in the market. And Navtaj had mentioned before, yes, there's some pockets that may still have multiple offers, so a lot of pockets that don't. So it just depends on which pocket you're focused on or what you want to buy into. And okay, so that's for that. And then the average selling price of a house right now is, sorry, let me go back to this other chart. Okay, so our average selling price right now is just over $1 million, whereas in January 2022, it was a couple $100,000 more. So the prices definitely have been coming down overall. And go back to my other chart. So the number of sales that have happened in January 2023, 3,100 versus almost 6,000. So almost half transactions have actually happened, according to TREB, in January this year versus January last year. So it's quite a difference there in transactions. And of course, we know that January 2022, the prices were much higher as well. I wanted to share with you guys an assignment sale that I have, but I can't show you the video. So I'll see if I can put a link in the chat. No, we can't even put in the chat. Navtaj, is there a way to enable the
You
chat?
can put a question answer period only.
Okay, I'll put it there
Q&A,
afterward.
that'd be good,
So,
thank you.
okay, so when I'm done, I'll put it there. But
Sure.
the assignment sale is a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom corner condo at right across from Downsview Park, and it's overlooking the water. Gorgeous, gorgeous condo. $25,000 in upgrades. It's almost 900 square feet with parking and a locker, ensuite laundry. They're asking $898,000. The developer would be asking $1.1 million for this. So $898,000 is a great deal. It was purchased at just under $800,000, or sorry, about $780,000. Deposits made over $75,000. Tons of amenities here: rooftop terrace, media room, fitness, etc. Everything that you would want. And of course, it's close to Yorkdale. It's close to the highways. They have wildlife center, merchants market, close to park yard, etc. Walking trails, all kinds of wonderful things there. So if anybody's interested, I'll put my contact into the question section. And I wanted to mention the design of the tax-free first home savings account. So the government's come up with this, which they're calling FHSA, the new registered plan, gives prospective first-time home buyers the ability to save $40,000 on a tax-free basis. So they announced it in 2022. So it's an $8,000 annual contribution limit, in addition to the $40,000 lifetime contribution limit. So in your lifetime, you can do $40,000, but per year, you can do $8,000. So it would take 5 years to get that $40,000. Now, one good thing that they did was they allowed people to carry over a balance. So say you only put in $5,000 this year. Next year, you have that balance of $3,000 that you didn't put in this year, plus your $8,000 next year. So you could actually put in $11,000 next year, which is good. Any savings not used to purchase a qualifying home could be transferred on a tax-free basis into an RRSP or RIF, or would otherwise have to be withdrawn on a taxable basis. The annual contribution limit would apply to contributions made within a particular calendar year. You can claim an income tax deduction for contributions made in a particular tax year. Unlike RRSPs, contributions made within the first 60 days of a given calendar year could not be attributed to the previous tax year. So you know how January, February, you're still allowed to contribute to your RSPs. You would not be, it's the same rule does not apply for this. An individual would be allowed to carry forward the portions though, so that's a good thing. You're allowed to hold more than one FHSA account, but the total amount that one contributes to all of their FHSAs can't exceed their annual and lifetime contribution. So it doesn't matter how many accounts you still have your 8,000 per year or your 40,000 for a lifetime. And so people who are eligible to hold an account, you have to be a Canadian resident, you have to be 18 or older, you have to be a first-time home buyer, and the account can stay open for 15 years or till the end of the year that you turn 71, or at the end of the year following the year in which you made a qualifying withdrawal from the FHSA for the first-time home purchase, whichever comes first. Excuse me, contributions and deductions. Individuals would be able to claim an income tax deduction for contributions made in a particular tax year, and you can talk to Jerry about that. Annual contributions are capped at 8,000 up to 40,000 in your lifetime. Unused contribution room can be carried forward. So that's all good news there. And then I wanted to mention, there's a company, because you're all investors and wanting to get into the market, or you may want this for your own personal property, but there is a company that would help you with your down payment on a home. And what they would do is they would take that portion, that percentage. So say you needed 200,000 to put down on a home and you only had, say, 100,000. So you needed another 100,000. So you would get this company to loan you that 100,000. So now you have the 200 that you need, but they've invested 50% of what you've invested. So they would be entitled to 50% of the profits. So they do allow you to take back your mortgage payments when you sell the house. So you get that money back. And then they would split the actual profits with you on the sale of the home in the percentage that they had contributed to the original deposit. So for people who are having difficulty coming up with the cash, and we know there's a lot of people who want to own a home, whether they're young or old or middle-aged, and they just don't have the cash to be able to put down. Maybe they're able to carry the monthly payments, but they can't come up with the initial deposit. This is a great way to do that. So if you want to connect with me, I'd be happy to introduce you. And they expect that you would sell the house by the 10th year, or they would figure out an arrangement where you can buy your portion back. But their time frame is 10 years. And but it's a great way to be able to purchase a home, whether it's for your hopes or for investors. So if you have any questions about the assignment that's for sale or anything else, feel free to reach out to me. I will put my info in the Q&A so you guys can copy it. I know you can't copy it from this picture. And yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me, and happy Valentine's Day, everybody.
Excellent. Thank you, Randy. Thank you so much once again, Randy. Randy is a top-notch real estate producer. She's here every month. Feel free to call her up. And the condo, I got two questions for you, Randy.
Yep.
What floor is the location? Location is approximately Downsview Park.
Correct. It's on Keel.
And,
3100 Keel. It's unit 525.
So it's a fifth floor.
Yes,
one parking spot and one locker,
yes. And
900
there's-
square feet.
897.
Okay, approximately 897 or 900 square feet,
Yeah.
and asking price is 899, and the builder is selling for 1.1.
Yeah, and it has a rooftop terrace on the 7th floor.
Excellent. Here's the deal, 200,000 less than builder's price. Thank you, Randy, for bringing this beautiful offer.
Thank you.
I think some of these gentlemen here or people who are looking around, here's some good news for all of you. Condo prices are not coming down, and the rents are substantially higher. And this location close to Downsview is pretty central, in my opinion. Keel and Shepherd, close to York University, as well as new subways. The Keel subway is close by, and there are definitely a subway station close by. So it's one of the #1 shopping center in Canada. Yorkdale Mall is across the street from you, not across the street, but very close by. And so the Costco and some of the other stores. In my opinion, it could be a very good deal. So please contact Randy at 647-284-7601. And she is the one you need to talk tonight. All right, moving forward. A little legal disclaimer, it's illegal to operate as a broker of real estate, mortgages, or securities unless you are properly licensed. It may be illegal to charge a finder fee or to charge a commission or a referral fee unless you hold the appropriate license. What is perfect legal is how to buy a property and sell a property. It's also legal to assign a contract. So this is how we talk about flipping. And now this new word I'm going to be introducing you next meeting, and this is a totally different ball game. Another different country where the boom is happening right now. I will be definitely sharing some information with you. Those who want totally tax-free money in a different country, but where there's a big boom going on and there's a huge appreciation. So we're talking about it. Assignments are perfectly legal. What are the profits you make, depending on exactly how you do business. Speak to Gary Hogenhout. How do you structure it? And I'm going to be asking a question, and some of you are in for a shock of your life. And that shock could be capital gain versus business income. What is good for you? Why it is good for you? And why you should be aware. And I say all the time for the last 40 plus years, a lot of Canadians pay too much taxes. They don't need to. They're not aware of the basics or fundamentals, or they do not have a proper CPA. They do not have a good real estate agent. They don't have a good mortgage broker. All these things are very vital for your real estate success, though. So anyway, do your proper due diligence. Always seek advice from those professionals who have been doing it. If you happen to choose one, make sure they have a lot of experience and they're well known in the community. That will help. There are 3 questions, I believe. Randy Goodman, sorry, it's all good. One of my friends is on the work permit. Can he purchase a house? That is something, work permit depends exactly. In my opinion, people who are here as a working, yes, they are allowed to, but you need to clarify with CRA. Okay, moving forward, I'm going to be sharing some of the stuff, a little bit more controversial side. Some will be a lot more helpful. Some will be to stimulate, and some information you may gonna find it pretty exciting. So here we go. So something I always talk about, what is Ikigai? Do you know what Ikigai is all about? It's something you love, something you're really good at, the universe needs it, and you can get paid for it. If your passion becomes your profession, you are on the right track. It has to be your passion. If you're working for money, it can be boring. If you feel like the passion is not there, it becomes exceptionally boring. All right. So new laws came in, and these new laws, some of you, if you do not have a copy of it, please text me at 409-7300. I'll send you a video about Canadian anti-flipping taxes and the new tax laws in Canada. You should be aware this is something where you cannot afford to make a mistake. It'll cost you way too much money not knowing the basics or fundamentals about taxes, it's going to cost you a fortune. A lot of people are paying more money than they have to because they do not know the options though. These are condos, and what exactly is happening across Canada? Well, majority of the investors find condos are easy to rent, easy to carry, and 40% of the condos is owned by investors or speculators, as per se. And that ratio may gonna go a little higher, and it may gonna go lower. It always happens every time there's a boom. A lot of people want to go in where they don't have to mow the lawn, shovel the snow. And they prefer to find a box or pigeon box, an apartment or condo to rent it out. And second option is always townhouses. So if you look at BC to Manitoba, Ontario, and New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, the quantity of investors, the number of investors on a lot of real estate is much higher in Ontario and BC. It is a little bit popping up in the Maritimes, especially in Nova Scotia, but it is becoming quite popular thing to invest in. As I said, people are talking about recession. There's something we need to look at it very carefully if you happen to own a condo. The average house price is still $710, $520 compared to last year, which is slightly higher by $250 or something like that. But the rent increment is incredible. $2,500 a month rent for one bedroom condo in Toronto. And the two bedroom rent has gone to about $3,000 or $3,200. You can look at it. It's hard to find one, by the way. And if you're trying to find one, even on MLS, you may gonna find competitor bids, and people might be offering a little bit more than what is listed for. And in my opinion, this could become worst. This is where investors can find a safe haven or safe place. Hey, listen, the rents are high. They may not gonna come down. If they do come down, it won't be that much. And it takes a long time to build apartment buildings. It takes a long time to build a condo. It takes a long time to build a house and approvals. So in my opinion, for the next 3 to 5 years, rental market is gonna be very strong, and rents might be going much higher than what we have already. And you're gonna find sandwich families, 3 or 4 families living in one house. It's already happening all across Canada. This is the real stuff you need to know. What happened 90s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 20s, and 2010s and 2020. And we are not able to keep up with the pace of building enough homes. And I'd like to share with you that what happens in 1970s. They used to build 1.2 additional homes. In 2010, it was 2.1. And now the trouble was they are not able to keep up because the costs are much, much, much higher. And that is something alarming. And now we are way, way too behind, and there's not enough land or not enough opportunities. Now people are spreading out, getting away from Toronto, getting away from Vancouver or Montreal. And now they're going to other places where they find, hey, it's more affordable and we can raise a family though. This is something interesting happening. This is for investors for you tonight. How many of you would love to go in and get an office building, turn it into a residential properties? There is a grant available for it. One of the city which is really doing its share is Calgary, and they're giving incentives. And it is happening all across Canada, by the way. It's happening in Ottawa, it's happening to Toronto. It's conversion. This conversion can be extremely profitable. The federal government have given $600 million to help developers. And you are one of them. Once you're an investor, you also become a developer. And in Nova Scotia, they put about $2 million. But there's a huge, huge demand, and there's huge appreciation if you happen to be in Alberta. And in my opinion, if you decided to be part of it, there are people here tonight, and they are known as superstars. and you might be able to put your question answer in the chat. Hey, who are the superstars? If you want to invest your capital, you want to be part of the conversions or new buildings, speak to them, and they might be able to give you something which can be a lot more what were you expecting tonight. But this is helpful. This is a very good strategy, in my opinion, for next 10 years to come. There'll be a lot of conversions happening. A lot of things are becoming automatic. This new chat GPT-3 is changing the whole universe, by the way. This is about the renovictions. Renoviction is a term utilized all across Canada, by the way, to get rid of the old tenants. People who want to increase the rent more or less. Sometimes the properties do need repair. And there is an advocacy group called Ontario Advocacy Center for Tenants, and there is their point that, hey, there are about 300% evictions happening because of renovations. Some of them may or may not be legit, and that's the concern they're raising. Again, there's a majority of them are tenants. Landlords or investors are minority. All the laws are made for what? For a majority of people. So be aware of it, that if you are doing any kind of renovations or so on, they may gonna introduce some laws. This could be laws coming from federal or provincial level, but we shall see. But again, this is something you will see from time to time, and this is the loophole people are using for the time being though. Here is something which is kind of contradictory what we learned today from Randy Goodman. New listings are up by 88%, making a return of pre-pandemic level. And if you look at the current right now as we speak, in January 7th, 600 new listing entered Toronto GTA market, increase of 88% month over month compared to 4,000 newly listed properties December 2022. Now, it may not be a huge number, but it makes it significant that a lot of people are opening up. They're saying, okay, maybe it's the time for us to sell. The market is settling down. Yeah, I do believe end of the February or at the beginning of March or so on, the listing may gonna go much, much higher. Again, we are talking earlier, there's not enough listings. In Brampton, there's only barely 500 listings available for sale, which is a lot less than should be though. This is something we all have to be careful. If you happen to have any property, make sure you have a title insurance on it. But even put a small mortgage for $2 on it. Put a mortgage on it and be aware of it. There is something keep happening all across Canada. The houses are stolen. We have a lot of population which is becoming seniors. I'm one of them, and we will find that every fourth Canadian in 2030 is going to become a senior. So these are the people who are baby boomers born after Second World War, and they are subject to this fraud, and this thing is happening. Be aware of it. If you own a piece of property, please put a mortgage on it. Definitely have a title insurance on it though. Being a landlord, and this is a question, $1 million question people ask all the time, and right now there's a new trend across Canada. Majority of investors have focused all their investment to Alberta. Why they should go to Alberta and why not stay in Ontario or BC? They're saying there's no rent control in Alberta, fixed term tenancy ends at expiry, deposit plus security, pet provisions, which is not applicable in Ontario, and landlord-tenant wait time is a lot less compared to Ontario. Ontario, we have some uphill battle, and these are the issues we deal with it. Once you become a owner of multi units or a bunch of properties, then you start seeing this type of challenges on a daily basis, and you wish you could do it better anywhere else though. This is new construction, is all the builder developers are holding on to it. They are not rushing into anymore. You might have seen that they are waiting for the interest rate to settle down, market to settle down, and some of them are more or less saying, hey, let the recession go by, and when market settle down, we're gonna come back, because right now the way it is, builders are not jumping through they are not jumping the queue to build anything faster. They're not even selling. As a matter of fact, there's a lot less properties available as pre-construction than ever before. Toronto used to be one of the hottest spots, not anymore, I guess. The things have changed. This is now the slow time as we speak. More or less the reason being behind the whole thing is controlling inflation. Interest rate hikes are really putting a damper. And I do believe that during the pandemic, something did happen magically, that the appreciation was out of nowhere. And now it's very hard to look at the property and sell it far below the market value. This is average house price in Toronto, by the way. She discussed it very nicely. That was Randy. Thank you, Randy, once again, my friend. Generally, sales are down compared to last year, by the way, and the same thing Vancouver. This is something you need to be aware. If you want to look at Vancouver and Toronto market, there is a couple of things in common. And again, Vancouver and Toronto have the same problems, landlocked. And now let's see how this thing goes. There's a couple of news things came up recently about Doug Ford's. Doug Ford have some connection with the developers on his daughter's wedding and so on. Again, we want to stay away from political point of view, but we want to see what the laws are and how they are governed. And in Vancouver, they have introduced many different things to cut down foreign buyers, but the market is not budging as much though. This thing about comparing the capital of every city, every country's capital, and they found that Canadian's capital city is much more affordable compared to other countries. This is the third cheapest city to buy a home based upon cost per square meter. And again, this is something they're talking about all the capital cities, not an average though, but still it's good to know. These are the regions where properties are selling much faster, by the way. As I said, each pocket have different attractions and so on though. When it comes to Waterloo, Aurora, Newmarket, Richmond Hill, Caledon, Orangeville, Vaughan, and Milton, these properties are selling. For example, in Waterloo, it takes only 25 days to sell, and some of them are taking a lot less time compared to Markham is taking 14 and 11 days. Newmarket is taking about 31 days. Again, these regions have their own effects. So we cannot really make a statement, hey, everything is down or everything is up. There are some pockets which are suffering. There are some pockets which are moving along extremely well though. So these are the properties where they are selling the fastest, and some of them are taking a lot longer to sell. This is a number here, which is under 40. This is how many days it takes to sell a piece of property, what was the average price, and so on though. Here comes the million-dollar question. March 1st, 2023 will be the last day for your RSP contribution. What exactly are you doing with the RSP? Are you able to make 5-6% return? Are you getting TFS? Are you getting 5-6% return? You want to do something with your money, please speak to superstars. Just put a question to superstars. Hey, I have RSP money, I want to invest. Now, when you want to invest your money in a very safe manner, I suggest you speak to them. You may not gonna get the highest interest rate, but you want something which is steady, which is safe, which will be there for you. So when you're putting the money at higher interest rate, putting it at higher risk. So just be aware of it. You want to invest your RSP money or TFSA money, make sure you're not getting 1% or 2% or whatever. Make sure you're getting much better than GIC, but you want to have the money invested in a real estate where you might be able to get some bonuses, maybe 1-2% bonus, and you can invest it for 5 years, 10 years. And these superstars will be happy to assist you and help you and ask for it. Hey, listen, is there any superstar who can help me to invest your RSP money or TFSA? Now, tonight, we're going to talk a little bit about forced sale, why people have to sell. It's not they're selling, they have to sell by default. What does that mean? They can't afford it, and they may not be able to renew the mortgages. So this is the dilemma a lot of Canadians are facing. High interest rates, high inflation. What comes ahead of them? Is it accommodation? Should they lease, or they have to downsize their expenses one way or the other? And it is becoming a dilemma for a lot of Canadians. And at that time, they don't care. Instead of losing the house to a bank by the repossession or by default, this is becoming a open-end challenge for a lot of Canadians. So they are forced to sell. When they're forced to sell, some of them may gonna make a profit, some of them may gonna end up losing a lot of equity or a lot of money they put it in. So let's look into it. And this is a different type of strategy. Just be careful if you are dealing with somebody who's selling it. They have very limited time. Now, here is a kicker for investors. If you're an investor, you're looking to buy any piece of property, make sure you have financing in place ahead of the time. Just like Randy Goodman said that she has connections where investor will come in, they will put half the money, you bring half the money. That could be really good one. You can talk to Canadian hard money lenders, you can talk to superstars, and they can assist you and help you and say, hey, listen, how we can make money. And not every property you have to buy 100%. You definitely just use fractional ownership. You own 30%, 50%, 70%. You can bring other investors in as joint venture partners or vice versa. There are a lot of deals coming through. There are some of them through private, some might appear on MLS. Either way, there is a word called forced home sale. They're struggling with higher interest rate and repayments in 2023. So who these people are, what are the age brackets are, most of them are who are struggling a lot, which are in the ages of 35 to 54. And that is when you have young children at home, two people are working, not able to make enough payments, and also people who are between 18 to 34. More or less, you can say that this is the group this should be targeting if you are planning to look about those properties that people are forced to sell their homes though. So exactly what is it all about? So these are some of the headlines. I like to review it quickly with you. Canadians with fixed rate mortgage horrified in face of higher interest rates. That is from the CTV News. 53% of Canadian homeowners concerned about higher mortgage payments at renewal. That is Shash.com from Race.com. Bank of Canada Senior Deputy Governor Carol Rogers said that higher rates would be painful for some owners with variable rate mortgages. And bank research indicate represent that 1/3 outstanding mortgage debts. This is painful. Homeowners with variable mortgages squeeze between rising rates and falling home prices. That's Colin Butler from CBC News. So these are the more or less the facts. If you see it, it's a huge population. It's not a minority. It is quite a number of Canadians who are in a situation where they got themselves in a pickle. They do not know how to get out. And we can help them out. People with variable mortgages, when they're up for renewal, they are feeling it. Compare the rate from 1.5 to 5%. That is a killer. Just imagine your payments used to be 3,000, now you're making about 5,000. Not very good, very painful. So these are the deals out there available for homeowners, and they are feeling it. So here is the high interest rate is putting a lot of investors, even those speculators who bought multiple properties, multiple condos or brand new houses, are unable to close now. Some of them even going to as far as selling their own principal residence, and they're just going to go from 5-6 property to no property at all, and they might be renting it. Otherwise, they might have to they have overextended themselves to a point where they may have no option except to maybe file a Chapter 11 or bankruptcy, and that is painful. And some of them are waiting for wait and see how the interest rates goes. There are a mixed bag of news coming in, and this is the interest rates. The 5-year interest rates have been going slightly up and slightly down. They are based upon the bond market. And if you speak to a good mortgage broker, and they may advise you, hey, should you go 5-year fixed or not? Speak to people like David Grossman. They can help you out. Or they'll speak to any other mortgage broker or professional and see what can be done. Whoever panics first panics the best. Unfortunately, true, but painfully true though. Some of the other issues are people are going for renewal. The appraisals are not coming along. Prices are coming much, much lower, and people may not have any equity left. So it's better to stick with the same lender if possible. Extend the amortization period if they can. If they have to sell, they have to sell. And some areas the prices have dropped by 142,000. It is extremely, extremely painful situation for some of them. In Greater Toronto area, the price have dropped by 245,000. Even though they were up by 310,000, but again, it's hard to take when the prices come down and the interest rate goes up. So this is another thing that 45% Canadians who have variable mortgage say they would have to sell under 9 months. Is 9 months is up almost? Yes. A lot of these variable mortgages, people are taking a rate for 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years. Again, you'll find from time to time that this thing is coming up. A lot of people are utilizing their HELOC, credit cards, and so on. And a lot more Canadians are accruing more debt than ever before. And that raises a red flag, but also offer a lot of opportunities for investors who want to grab a few good properties. Those who were never able to buy the condos want to buy them. There might be a lot of fire sales happening. And some of the fire sales are coming from developers, by the way. Here is a great news for investors. There are $2.2 trillion is available. $2.2 trillion available. And this money is available if you do not qualify. They don't care about mortgages. They don't care about credit. They don't care about income. And this money is private money. This thing information came from Investment Funds Institute of Canada, by the way, in case you want to know exactly where the figures came from. This is strictly our RSP money. This is Stat Canada saying, hey, investors are making 20 to 30%. This information again came from Stat Canada. Again, they are saying the numbers are a little higher in BC compared to Ontario, but I do believe that this is the latest information what they have, and that was 2021, I believe. Those who have never been aware of the forgivable grants for real estate and business, there's books available, 3 of them, $4.99. Just thought to share with you. Really, we ran out of them very quickly. If anybody want to grab it, just send a text message. We'll be happy to take care of you. So we are cash buyers ourselves. By the way, we are junkies. We are cash buyer junkies. We want to buy houses. In case you happen to know anybody who are superly distressed and need to get rid of it, we only buy at deeply discounted properties, not on MLS, nothing at the fair market value, only fire sales. That's what we buy, by the way. A couple of things you should need to know about what's happening with our coaching session. Coaching session is not for anybody and everybody, by the way. There's no magic pill will give it to you. You don't have to put effort, you have to put a commitment, and this is how it is done. This is, most of the coaching programs will be only chit chat, no real deals. Be aware of it. We don't do that. In case you're looking for a coaching, you have a 15-minute coaching session free of charge. Call us up and see if you are fit for it. If you are not, we'll let you know. This apprenticeship is already going on. Anytime you register for it, you can attend anytime. There's no set time. Now we have flexible timing. You can just join in, finish in 3 months' time, and this is a very good one. A lot of red flags for pre-construction, by the way, I mentioned to you earlier, 31,000 getting ready, 19,000 will be ready by June. And we will see. There's going to be a huge, in my opinion, readjust or market is going to go through some definite changes in June and July. Just be aware of it. Look at the facts and the numbers and see what goes on. If interest rate keep rising, maybe another 0.5 point or 1/4%, or they may not gonna come down, but may gonna go up. It is something which we all have to watch and see. As I said earlier, 32,000 condos will be ready in 2023. 19,000 is the highest number we ever had. This is going to be absorbed very quickly because there's a huge renter shortage. If you happen to pick any of those condos, make sure that you're buying it at a deeply discounted property. Number two, make sure it has a positive cash flow. Please stay away from negative cash flow. Negative cash flow is a disaster, period. Negative cash flow is a disaster, no matter who you are, what you are. It is not a good way of investing, by the way. This is something about if you are interested in fixing and flipping, adding some values. One of the best things you can do in this market, anything you want to buy, think about how you can add more income or rental income. If you can add rental income, even the basements are renting for $2,500. You can turn any negative property to a positive cash flow property. You don't care about sometimes, you don't need to sell it as long as you have good cash flow coming out of it. And this is totally different than ever before. You can hold on to 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, or you can just go ownership. You can have multiple options. And make sure you do the proper search. If you happen to pick up properties in certain areas, and now the new laws are coming in, they may allow up to 3 units on a single family in R1 zoning. If you can happen to find a good private lending source, that can be helpful. Make sure if you have a joint venture partner who can do a balloon payment for you, that's double edge. It means that you can claim all the tax benefits, make the payment later on. And that's something we'll teach very deeply in the apprenticeship program. Be aware this market goes up and down. This thing happens all the time. I've been in business for 42 years plus, or 43 years, or so on. And we've seen a lot of ups and downs, but here is something you need to take it away. All those professional investors will do extremely well when the market is down. They do well regardless. But the market is down, there's no competition. They're able to pick up the property of their choices, and they might be able to do vendor take back, owner financing, private financing, balloon payments, a lot of creative stuff they can do, and they may not even have to buy the whole property. They may gonna buy part of it, option to buy second part of it, or second ownership, or balance the ownership later on. Though a lot of different strategies are working because the people are anxious to do so. Foreclosures, they are coming, the power sales are coming regardless. This is kind of a news that estimated 1.1 million Canadians will be facing renewal, and they could be facing power sale. We have a one-day training program. This program is designed for realtors, mortgage brokers, and investors only. And just check it out, precanada.com/for-ontario-power sale-training. This will be a one-day live program, and we will be doing it. We have been teaching this program for many, many years, but this thing is being changed accordingly right now. Those who are realtors, you'll get more listings. Those who are mortgage brokers will get more business. And if you're investors, perfect way of doing it. There's a lot of money to be made in power sale and foreclosures. Remember, in Canada, the law says very clearly that the banks do not sell property under the market value. Every property gets sold under power of sale or foreclosure in Canada must be sold at fair market value. There are two different techniques to make money on the power of sales in Ontario. Those who will be attending it will be happy to share with you. Master class is next month, Tuesday, by the way, at 6:30, 9:30 p.m. How to make a fortune foreclosure, power sale, 20 different techniques, how to find these properties. Flippingforprofit.ca, make sure you get your ticket. Usually they get sold out. We reserve the right to put 25 to 30 people in any session. As a matter of fact, we might be allowing maybe extra 5 people because 25 already sold. If you have not bought a ticket, please get yourself a ticket though. This is something about field training. It's just coming up on March 3rd and 6th. This is the training where we take you directly in the court office or where you see an auction. These are from bus trips to builders to Calgary. This is all across. This is Oscar Hall, Milton, and in Brampton. These are the latest pictures, by the way, where what you see, you intend to retain it for a very long time. What you hear, what you read, you forget. Eyewitness live trading for investors is a very critical part of it. Those who are interested in it, just send a text message and see if you're qualified to attend one. There's a cost involved in it, by the way. This is something we talk all the time about, a super priority lien. These liens could be against you, but you may or may not be aware of it. This thing does not go away, by the way. This is something a lot of people don't realize it. This is from the federal Minister of Revenue or CRA. People do not take it lightly. This thing must be taken into consideration, especially if you're planning to have even a partner, a JV. Check their check their rates. Make sure they do not owe anything. They do not have any outstanding lien or judgment. It could affect you and your property, by the way. I want to sincerely thank you, everybody. Next meeting will be March 14th. If you have any questions, we'll be happy to answer it for you. I know there's a lot of questions here. Teresa said RSP and TFSA, please speak to her directly. She is here tonight. You have her number. She's one of the superstar. She can help you to invest your RSP or TFSA account for a long-term basis. That can be very helpful for you. Rachel say, I would like to be part of the conversions. Absolutely, Rachel. You will be learning as you go along. I know that you're an apprentice, and welcome abroad, my friend. You're going to be learning a lot about the new opportunity as they come along. Okay. Randy Goodman, I was told yes, what was asked a lot about. Okay. Randy, listen to your needs. Okay, this is Randy. If you want to speak to Randy Goodman, please bought the condo 2-bedroom 2-bath for $899, where the builder is selling for $1.1 million. Please give her a call, check it out. And if it is not for you, maybe you can refer somebody else to her. We all work on a referral basis, by the way. Our lawyers or so realtors might be able to provide you a gift or something. They may not be able to provide you money, but be aware they have to follow all the laws, bylaws, ethics, and morals. Just be aware of it. We help each other. That's the purpose of our meeting though here. Anybody have any questions? We'll be happy to answer it for you. Otherwise, we're going to wrap up because it is Valentine's Day. Anybody have any questions? Please feel free to ask in the Q&A. Otherwise, I want to say thank you very much. And we're looking forward to see you on March 14th. Any questions? Yes, no questions then. Okay, here we go. The one question. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Randy. Thank you so much once again. Thank you, Randy. Ramni, thank you very much, my friend. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Jerry and David. And thank you each and everybody here tonight. I know that today is the day, but the life has to go on regardless, no matter what. All right, everybody, good night and take care and God bless. Bye-bye.